guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Kira the Dot, back for yet another video. Today is going to be another story time because my last story time was doing really good, and I wrote down a couple ideas of situations I've been through to do story times on, and because that one is doing so good, I thought, why not come back with another one. This story time is going to be about a roommate experience that I had. This story time, I feel like, has to do with a little bit of jealousy as well. The house that I'm referring to, I actually did a house tour on this house when I first moved into it. It's up on my channel. It was a few years back. Let me see actually how long ago this was. It was 2 years ago that I moved in there. So yeah, so let's get right into it. So I'm 24 now. I had to be about 21 or 22 around the time that I was living in this house. So basically what happened, I was looking for a place to move. Where I was living at was really bad. It literally got shot up. I was living next door to I don't know if you can say these things on YouTube, but a drug house. It was a lot of addicts around my house. They had a tent out there. Like, it was bad. So I was like really desperate to move because I really didn't like it. And then on top of that, it was nerve-wracking because I lived alone, and I started to realize how my neighbors would watch me. And that's also another topic. It's kind of a tangent, but that's also another topic I want to touch on, is just women being able to defend themselves, because a lot of people look at a woman and think that you're helpless and they see you as a target. But we got to change that perception in people's minds and start, like, you run up on me, you gonna get done up. You know what I mean? Like, stop. We gotta change a lot of things in our community. Like, yes, men should be protecting us, but obviously they're not. So that obviously means we need self-defense. We need permits to carry, concealed, all of that. Like, women need to take more precautions to protect themselves. Yeah, it's not good to walk around with a fear in you. I'm not saying to do that, but I'm saying that if something does come your way, you'd rather be prepared than least expectant of this, because the least expecting you are of it, the least chance you will probably get of getting out of that situation alive. Starting off with the house, how I got in the house. The house was a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath, and it was in a very, very nice neighborhood. I got in this house mainly because it was a private landlord and I had a decent credit score. So, I got in the house. After explaining the story time, you'll see what I mean, but looking back on it, it definitely had to be jealousy because I was young. I had a huge townhouse. Like, I started to realize the plan of having a roommate just started to backfire, because a lot of women, when they were around me, I feel like the jealousy started to seep in, and the jealousy of, like, well, how does she have this and she's so young? Like, I feel like, yeah, a few of the roommates or whatever were a little jealous of the fact that I had what I had, but neither here nor there. Starting off with the story, I had a few different options of roommates. Like, I was doing sort of interviews, sort of style, meeting with the different people, showing them the house, walking them around the house. I was offering them the master bedroom. The master bedroom literally had a bathroom inside of it and a walk-in closet. I did that because I'm humble. Like, the big and the shiny things don't really excite me. So I just knew that giving that room would have been more appealing to somebody, you know, looking house shopping, you know. So it was kind of like a tactic. So one of the people had a child. She seemed cool, but the only thing I was thinking about was the fact that she had a child. And I know how kids are, like, they'll ruin some stuff, especially, you know, kids just are everywhere. And then depending on the parent, you know, ain't no telling if that parent is going to have control over their child or not. Another one was really godly, but she was really pushy. She kept asking me about, I'm not sure if you can say this on TikTok either, so instead of using the D-R-U-G word, we're going to just say tweaker or tweaking. But she was really godly, but she was pushy, and she kept asking me, did I tweak or did I do, you know, put 2 and 2 together? And I was just sitting here like, am I doing the interview or are you? Like, what do you keep asking me? Like, what? For one, we don't have to be cool, you know. So at the time, what I will say is that I smoked green lettuce or whatever. So, you know, it was just like, well, I felt a little offended, basically. And then the third person that I interviewed was this roommate. At this point, I had quite a few inquiries. People were hitting me up about the room. I was just like ready to have somebody move in because I knew bills had to be paid. You know, like, months are passing, like, all right. The whole reason why I wanted a roommate was to split the bills, and months is passing, you know. But I honestly was in the house for a few months by myself. So initially I was literally paying it by myself. So I just knew that a roommate would make it easier. It would take a lot of stress off of me, you know. When this roommate came, the one that I actually chose, the reason why I chose her is because we hit it off. But it felt like the missing puzzle piece, you know. It felt like, okay, this feels right. But I don't know, the whole experience was just a learning lesson, because just because it felt right don't mean it was right. So this first meeting and conversation was very essential. I basically wrote this down to make it easier. If it looks like I'm reading, I am, because like the last story time I did, it gets really long, and I feel like I'm not the best storyteller. So if I'm able to read it or, you know, remember everything, it's way easier. But anyway, she explained several situations that she'd been through, and she told me that she was gay, which was cool. She was a feminine girl, you know, so I didn't really think much of it because I'm feminine too. So I was just like, okay, she's gay, but I didn't think that she would be on no type time of like liking me, which is honestly, I feel like had to do with sort of with it too. I feel like maybe she did start to like me, and that caused some of the jealousy as well. One situation she explained this day, which is why this conversation is so essential, because the more and more time I got to know her, it was just like, was you telling the truth that day, you know? One situation she explained was with an ex, which was a girl, and she was explaining how her ex was cheating on her, and she claimed that the person that her ex was cheating with basically unalived himself. She was saying basically her ex invited her on the trip, her ex invited that boy on the trip too, and it was with all of the girl's family. And she said that basically, she said she ain't want to go because she invited the both of them. Like, she just felt like she was playing with them. But the more and more I got to know her, I started to think, like, did you go? Did you go that day? Or did you just say that you didn't go? Like, it started to feel like she could have had something to do with it, because of the simple fact of, why would somebody unalive themselves in front of people and around people that they don't know like that. That just doesn't make the most sense. Looking back on it, something about this story wasn't quite right, and it gave me chills. So another situation she explained was how a friend of hers was I'm not sure what YouTube let you say or not, but what's the way we could describe it? I decided to give this friend that she was talking about a name, and the name is Felicia from Friday. You know Felicia from Friday. So if you could put two and two together, her sister was on some tweaking. You know, I mean, I say her sister, her friend was on some tweaking. Like, so she was explaining this story about Felicia and how Felicia couldn't stop doing the tweaking to the point that her nose was bleeding in a restaurant. She explained how the girl broke her nose on the concrete that night and implied she felt sorry for the girl, but she knew her for a while, and the girl Felicia doesn't have many friends, and she's basically a loser. That wasn't her exact words, but that was close enough to what she was saying. And like I said, we calling the friend that was a tweaker Felicia. So looking back on it, and one of the main reasons why I thought to make this video is because a lot of people are naive. I was one of them, but are naive to the fact that a lot of people out here are in active addiction. And if you're a shelter or you're a shelter person, when you're coming around people, that's going to be the last thing on your mind. But you have to be aware that there are lots of people around us in active addiction. So as she's telling this story about her friend Felicia, I'm thinking, I didn't think that she was doing it with her friend, you know. But the more and more the story goes on, it starts to raise the question, was y'all tweaking together? So anyways, back to the story. So she persuaded me to let her move in ASAP because she had the money and she was ready to move in. So basically within the next few days, she moved in. It felt right because of her personality and sort of chemistry, but I think what it really was, we bonded over trauma. The first day she moved in, this is where the red flag should have been at. The first day, she brought about a fifth. It could have been a little bigger, but it was about a fifth of liquor with her, and asked, did I want to drink? So me being young, about 21, 22, I don't drink much. I never really was a drinker. You know, that's just really not my thing. So it was just like, well, let me loosen up, have some fun, you know. So I said, yeah. By the way, because it ties into the story, I believe what I'm gonna say was the same day. So by the way, her job was a medical assistant, and apparently in the state of South Carolina, which we lived on the border of North Carolina, so you know, she worked in South Carolina, but in the state of South Carolina you don't need a license to be a medical assistant, which blew me away. Because so basically it's people out here working with people's parents and elders that shouldn't be, basically haven't had no training, all of that. So that day we got drunk, you know, off of that fifth of I almost said fifth of Henny, that fifth of a liquor bottle. Her mom called her to get help at work, so that started to connect the story more. Her mom was a manager at the facility, so that's more than likely how she got the job anyways, because of course if your mom works somewhere, you always got a job. You know, your mom ain't about to let you starve. She asked if I wanted to go with her, and she explained how it was a party for the elders, well, the residents, and she was really just helping. She wasn't really working. She wasn't clocking in. It felt a bit weird, but I didn't see why not go and get to know her more. But the new me knows you can't be so hyped to, you know, chill with people and stuff, because a lot of people mistake that for how I said she thought her friend Felicia was a loser. They mistake that for, oh, well, she don't got nothing better to do, so of course she gonna come. I just started to learn to put myself first and have my own stuff going on before people, so you're not so eager, because when you are, people kind of think less of you and put you on a pedestal if you're not never saying no, well, I gotta do this. It's sad, it's sick how some people think, but that's just how some people are. You give them an inch, they take a mile. Also, I now realize that befriending roommates or neighbors can be a blessing and a curse, and I should have kept it as a high and biased relationship. I shouldn't have got so close to her, because when people get close, they get comfortable. The friendship was going good at first until I introduced her to a guy I was talking to, and we can name him Shorty because, for one, he's short. For two, he'll probably be in another story time. Like, the situation about him, just a whole rabbit hole in itself. These two met, roommate and Shorty met, and then the second time, I believe it was like the second time that we hung out with Shorty and her at the same time, we planned to go out to a bar. The day was going good, and looking back on it, I respect her for trying to make sure he was treating me right. But this girl took it overboard, and this is where it comes into play. Like, okay, did she really like me, or was this a friendly thing? She was asking who was paying out of us too. So first we was at an arcade, and then later on that night we went to a bar. So when we was at the arcade, she was asking this stuff like, is you paying for her? And stuff, which the man should pay, but I feel like he paid for something but not everything, which, like, I wasn't really tripping. Like, so for her to do all of that, it's understandable, but she crossed boundaries, because you don't do that. Like, you don't insert yourself into somebody else's, you know, dating prospects. Like, it's not your decision on who somebody talks to and who they don't talk to. And I feel like how pushy she was probably had something to do with me eventually talking to him, because when people try to tell me what to do, I do the opposite. That's basically the simplest way to put it. Like, if I feel like somebody's trying to pressure me to do something, I'm most likely gonna do the complete opposite, because it's like, for one, do you even have my best interest? Are you trying to trick me? That's how I be feeling. So basically, she inserted herself in a situation, our situation, the whole time. So we went to the bar. He buys me a drink. Then he eventually goes outside with his friend, and I forgot to mention his friend came with us too. His friend was kind of flirting with her, and then it was me and him. But the friend wasn't too worried about her though, because at the end of the day he had a girlfriend. So we get to the bar or whatever. My roommate starts to talk to this older guy. Mind you, she gay. The older guy starts buying me and her drinks, and it was cool, it was fine, it was dandy. But I was so shocked at the way that she just like was a whole character for this man. And not only that, it showed me how a lot of girls really do go out and be looking for somebody to fund their lifestyle. So another older guy shows up and sits next to me and seems to be a friend of the older guy. He started talking to me and bought me like one more drink. I think I had about 2 or 3 drinks. By this point though, my roommate was drunk. Like, I don't know how many drinks she had, but she was drunk. Like, she was doing a lot. She was attracting all the attention. So she was milking the man for his information, offering him to come to our house and cook for us, all of the whole nine. I think I was just in such shock, I didn't really say much, because I feel like it's a way to go about things. You gotta be classy with it, you know what I mean? She was trashy. You gotta be classy. Like, I am more used to being around classy women, that a man gonna come up to you because he gonna recognize real, you feel me? But hers was more desperate. By this point, Shorty peeped what was going on. He came back inside, and you could visibly tell he was upset, but he ain't really say nothing. The older man even offered to buy Shorty a drink. So shortly after, Shorty and his guy friend are ready to go, which I don't blame them. It's probably like 1 o'clock by this point. We get in the car, and that's when all hell breaks loose. My roommate proceeded to cuss Shorty out because of his aggression towards me on our way to the car. I can't fully remember. I can't really remember, but he was like upset, just ready to go or whatever. So the main thing she said to him in the car is that he don't pay my rent, so I don't have to answer to him. He didn't really say much back. He just sat back there quietly because he was in the back seat, she was in the front seat, and him and his friend was in the back seat basically. I don't blame her because she wasn't saying no lies, but at the same time, she inserted herself into a situation that didn't need that, and it really gave, do she really like me? Or like, is this friendly, or, you know, do she like me more than a friend? Later on, my roommate apologized for blowing up on him like that and being drunk. She basically, and funny part is too, that night afterwards, I think he was trying to tell me that he wanted to be with me and stuff, which is kind of funny because why it take for a woman showing you that she has options and she got motion for you to be like, oh, I want to be with you? Like, no, I think Shorty just wanted to stop my motion and stop me from being able to do what men can't do. Men can't just go on a bar and get a free drink. I feel like a lot of men are jealous of the power that a woman holds. But that's another story for another day. Back to the story. This roommate always wanted to get drunk, and she talked about herself being an alcoholic a lot, which is supposed to be a funny joke, a kiki. I didn't see myself as much better because I was smoking green lettuce real bad at this time. Like, I was a heavy smoker, but now I'm not. Thank God, because I really started to see it as an addiction. And a lot of people who smoke green lettuce don't see it as an addiction. And I'm not saying this to talk down on anybody. I'm not. But the simple fact that I've been telling people, oh yeah, I haven't smoked green lettuce in a few months. Like, I just went cold turkey, blah, blah, blah. I needed a break. A lot of people be looking at me crazy. So that just goes to show you, people are addicted to green lettuce, and green lettuce is the new CRACK. I hate to say it. I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot me. Eventually, roommate introduced me to that same friend, Felicia, that she had plenty stories about, and she was talking about for being a tweaker, which was odd. It was very odd. Because she talked about the girl so badly. But when I seen them together, they seemed like best friends. The girl had 1 or 2 children, and she was on hard drugs. My roommate and her, I started, the more I was around them, I realized people taking pills, people doing all types of stuff. And like I said, I was sheltered, so I didn't know this shit. So yeah, my roommate and her did Zans, and they loved liquor. I didn't know people out here was, doing all of this stuff. I didn't know. It made me feel like a virgin with my solely just weed smoking self, with green lettuce smoking self around these two. And I even learned that Shorty did Zans too, but that's another story for another day. So I basically wasn't used to being around users and people in addiction. I was naive to the fact that roommate could have possibly been doing the same things as Felicia, because the way she was talking about her. But the more I was around Felicia and roommate, I started to say, well, birds of a feather flock together. You're not about to be around somebody if you don't fuck with them for real. Like, can't nobody tell me different. I don't hang around people that's doing half of the stuff y'all doing. So that goes to show me you thought you was fooling somebody. My roommate birthday eventually came up. It was just me, Felicia, Shorty, and a friend of Shorty, which we would name Quan. And it's kind of funny because for her to call Felicia a loser, and Felicia was the only person that showed up to her birthday party, it's like, girl, so this your only friend? Like, and you had the nerve to tell me just let's just keep going with the story. So yeah, it was her birthday party, and I'm actually going to insert some clips from the birthday party. I'm gonna try to blur out people's faces or something, but yeah, I'm gonna insert some clips because we was having a good time with Kiki. But what I will say, this night I remember we went to the liquor store, and this girl, I never been around people this addicted or this far gone. Like, she bought a few bottles, probably like 3 or 4 bottles, spent like $200-300. I was so shocked because, baby, I spent about $20 in the liquor store. I never spent no hundreds of dollars in no liquor store, baby. It was bad. Also, remember that she claimed to be gay. Remember this. This is my roommate's first time meeting Quan, by the way. I got way too drunk, and I was like literally one of the first people to go to sleep. I remember her coming in my room, telling me to get up and come back downstairs, which is wild because I was literally passed out, basically sleeping in my bed. I couldn't move. I was like drunk. And it was to the point that Shorty had to take care of me, make sure I was good. The next morning, Shorty asked what happened to his friend Quan. He said he couldn't find him, but checked outside and seen his car. But he couldn't find him in the house. So putting 2 and 2 together, Quan must have been inside a roommate's room, even though she claimed to be gay. And in the pictures inserted, you'll see how comfortable she was with Quan. Quan was even touching her butt and thighs throughout the night. But I didn't even stop to know. Until watching that stuff back. But roommate never mentioned anything about doing anything with him, which was quite hypocritical for someone explaining what you should and shouldn't deal with a man. I personally don't do casual hookups, so for her to try to do all of that to Shorty, it was just like, why are you doing all of that to him when you just be giving it up like there ain't no tomorrow anyways? So a big part of the story that I forgot to mention was Shorty going to jail. This was also a key factor in how I realized that roommate was a little jealous, 1, and 2, just her showing parts of the idea that she didn't like me like that. I remember one night, it was close to my birthday, It's funny to say this because the story time about jealousy runs blood deep. This is the exact cousin that I was mentioning in that story. This day, cousin just had moved to North Carolina from Delaware. Had been here for a few years. I haven't seen her in a while, and like I was saying in the other story time, I really wanted that relationship with her. Like, I liked the relationship we had, the barely hanging on by a string relationship that we had. And the funny part is, she never even met this roommate, and I used to be like, oh, I want you to meet my cousin, I want you to meet my roommate, whatever. So, but she rarely came over. When she did come over, she would bring like a guy with her, or like, it was almost like she came over when it was to her benefit. She didn't never really come over just to see me. So one night we were driving to go see my cousin, me and Shorty, and Shorty was driving. I learned a lot from my mistakes, and one of the mistakes being, you can't give a man more responsibility than they're ready to take on. Like, if he wanted to drive, he should have bought his own car. He was driving and it was a checkpoint, and instead of stopping, he gonna try to drive through it, and the police started chasing him. It was just like, it made me realize why you don't want to be in a situation like that. Like, why you don't want somebody driving you, because then y'all are moving off of their brain, and if they're not the smartest, you're gonna end up doing some dumb stuff. But anyways, eventually they ended up taking him to jail because he's a felon and he had a gun or whatever, a pow, and I felt really guilty. This is where the simple knowing of her having some type of animosity towards me started to show. I was talking to her about helping him to bail out or whatever, and because I knew that she knew a little bit more about it, so I wasn't asking her opinion, I was asking her information. And she was just like, oh, if you bail a guy out, you're stupid, and blah 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 blah. Like, she was just going off, and I'm just like, well, I wasn't asking you for your opinion. I appreciate that, but probably am going to bail him out, but I'm asking you, what do you know about it? Do you know a bail bondsman, etc.? I didn't ask you for that. I also remember one night I came in late, came in the door or whatever, and she called me a whore. Like, girl, what? That's why I don't call anybody my friend and all of that, because people, once they're your friend, they feel like they can crack these types of jokes. I did eventually end up bailing him out, and I guess she wasn't too happy about that. Also, something I wanted to mention was, once I did start searching her name up online, this was around the time that everybody was doing those PPP loans, and when she told me she did a PPP loan, and she told me that she helped people get PPP loans, but when I searched her name up, that's literally what came up. It was saying like the biggest grant or whatever, something like who received the most money for the PPP loan, and it was her in our area, which was really crazy because you're going to jail. So I'm gonna mention this again. I also learned that Shorty did Zans as well, and probably some other things, because he was very secretive. But he was very adamant about telling me that my roommate was doing more than she let on, and probably the same exact thing that she told me about Felicia doing. Shorty will be a whole story time within itself, but we'll get into that. Back to the story. And also, Shorty was adamant about that, and he was adamant just about the fact of, like, this was around the time that Shanquella died, and he was just like, because we were close to that area, we were close to the area Shanquella is from, and he was like, I'm trying to tell you, like, girls be doing this. Like, girls will literally set you up to be fucked up in a situation, or get jumped, or be under the influence, and all of this stuff. He was like, they will do that. Like, I'm trying to help you. Like, don't trust her, basically. I started to realize the weird relationship with roommate and her mom. She would yell and scream at her mom. She didn't have a car, so her mom took her to work, everything, she was around her mom a lot. But the way her mom watched her, it felt like the mom was a parole officer. I was starting to realize that something about her and this situation was just off. She also told me one night about her sister. She said that her sister went crazy because she had kids and the man just was doing her wrong. Which, this is another great topic that, just be cautious, because if your mind ain't strong, don't put yourself in a difficult situation like that, because it is hard having multiple kids and you doing it by yourself, and you thought that you was going to be doing it with somebody else. Some people can't live with that. And her sister literally went crazy. Mental hospitals. She said one situation she was telling about her sister was her sister got a pow, a big pow, and was just sitting in the house with all these crazy stories. She also told me, I'm bringing this up to say, that night she was explaining about her sister going crazy from having kids. She told me if I ever needed an abortion, to tell her she would pay for it while Shorty's sitting at the table. It was just wild. She always made it appear as if she had my best interests, but it was just like, are you cool with me or are you not? Because what she did in the end was just crazy. She invited like 2 other people over on different occasions. One time it was another girl. They was drinking and then the girl left or whatever. And then another time it was a guy. This relationship seemed very weird to me as well. We was getting ready to go out. She offered the guy to rub lotion on her as we were getting ready to go out. And he was in her room as we got dressed. I was in my room, but he was in her room as she was getting dressed, which was also weird. She then made him buy the both of us food. And then while we was in the car on our way to get the food, his girlfriend was blowing up his phone. She answered the phone, cussed the girlfriend out, and she was like, we can fight when you get back home. We can fight. And she hung up the phone on the girl. This is shit happening in the real world, for real. Like, I didn't know this stuff was happening either. But anyways, she was justifying it for the simple fact that she was like, that girl using him. And she was like, she using him. They not even his kids. She taking care of his kids and blah, blah, blah. Whatever. This was some of the craziest stuff I ever witnessed. She was claiming up and down that her and the guy were just friends, which don't matter to me what they was, but it just showed how people be stretching the truth often. So around this time, I felt myself struggling and not being able to do much else but pay bills. Also around this time, Shorty was sleeping over often because he said that his roommates and him had to get out their house. It was just so ghetto to think back on, because I know now not to help a man. That's his mom's responsibility, not a woman. And especially not a woman you consider yourself pursuing, because there's no respect there for a woman you barely know but you feel so comfortable about leaning on for help. That's a typical Dusty in my Shiva voice. Sprinkle, sprinkle, ladies. I started to think of everything I could do not to fall behind on bills. I realized how nice this home was. The fact that my roommate had the master bedroom with the bathroom and a walk-in closet. I realized, if anything, not only that, but the neighborhood we were in. Like, it was literally a very expensive part of town. We weren't in the hood, nothing. It was nice. You can go back to that house tour and see it yourself. I realized, if anything, $800 a month was the least. She could at least help with utilities too, because $800 was half of the rent. And the utilities, I had to pay for gas, water, and electricity. So it was just becoming a lot. I didn't want to fall behind. I sit her down and talk about the bills that I provided with receipts so that she could see everything for herself, how recent the bills are, and the whole situation. So we then concluded this situation by her agreeing to pay $200 for utilities as well. We had, oh yeah, I already said that. We had electric, gas, and water for a 2-bedroom and 2.5-bath townhome. I didn't feel like that was asking for too much, and plus she agreed. If it was a problem, that would have been the time to say it. However, the next time it was time to pay the bills, I came home that day that the bill was due, and she moved all her stuff out, which was really shocking to me. I texted her about it. That's when her true colors began to show. So I start off by texting her and saying, "Hey, good afternoon. I received no 30-day notice for you leaving. I'm applying your stuff going and no June rent payment as your notice/departure. I'm texting you to see where we can meet so you can return the key. Give me a call when you get this message." I said nothing about money, nothing. "Hello, per our agreement, you and I were to share the home. Nowhere was it stated that a third-party male would be in the home. Had that been made known, I would have sought residence elsewhere. That being said, you are in breach of our arrangement. I do not have the key. As you can see, my mattress and mirror are still in your unit. According to the law, I have 30 days to remove my items and will do upon getting a friend with a truck to help remove them. But in what world do you not pay a rent and you have 30 days to get your stuff out?" But let's keep on going. With that being said, I then proceeded to remind her of the bill amount. And I said, as of now, basically because you didn't pay, as of now, with the lease being broken, house key will need to be returned. Your options are to pay for daily storage since you want to tell me that you know I have to let you back in your house, in my house. I said, so your options are to pay for daily storage, $100 fee for your alleged left belongings, able to be paid, XYZ. If this is unable to be done, the city will be here to collect these belongings from the curb tomorrow afternoon. Anything otherwise will be considered theft and trespassing. Please make me aware before showing up to property. Thank you. This where it starts to get a little just straight drama feel and go left field. So she replies and says, "I also still have the lease. Nowhere in the lease said your man was going to be there. So you breached your own contract. Therefore, the contract no longer stands. I have a family lawyer. We can take it to court if you wish. I do not owe you rent for June because I'm not there. And I don't owe security deposit as well. It is against the law to withhold someone's belongings, so do as you wish. I will be there to get my things, wig included. If that's an issue, we can go to court. Like I said, I have all my receipts. I have a lawyer. I have the lease, and I have a damn good lawyer." It was literally the night of her birthday, and she was telling me, "Tried to make it seem like I stole the wig or something," but she literally, so for her to just kind of try to turn around and throw that in my face when she never verbalized out of her mouth, a lot of the times, "Can you give me my wig?" I would have gave it to her, but you moved out without saying nothing, so now you're gonna try to make it seem like I stole your wig. A wig that felt like raccoon tail at that. At this point, you can tell she's trying to argue. I'm just trying to communicate. So I said, "When are you coming?" She said, when my mom and brother is free to help." I said, "Okay, let me know when that would be beforehand." All the screenshots after this one are just literally her trying to belittle me and whatnot, and I feel like it's really not no point in reading all these screenshots because it was basically just her getting smart, and I'm just trying to explain to her, for the simple fact that you left and your stuff is going to be on the curb, there's no reason for you to come into this house. Like, either you come get the stuff today or it's going to be on the curb tomorrow and you can get it from the curb. You feel what I'm saying? So that's where we're going to leave it at. But she just wanted to go back and forth about the situation and everything she wanted to get off her chest. But it's just like, you should have said this when you were in the house and you had the opportunity. I literally sat down with her like a day or two before that, like a few days before, and talking to her about the bills and stuff. And she looked me in my face and was just like, okay. She didn't say nothing was wrong. She didn't say no problems, nothing. So for you to say all of this now, it's just like, that's why I don't feel like it's no need to keep explaining all the screenshots. Like, it was too late to be trying to say all of this stuff about the guy being there or whatever if you never said anything. It's too late. You, and not only did you not say anything, you act like it was cool. It was cool with you. And she was cool with him. But now we're gonna get back to the clip. She also brought up Shorty and was like, ask him for help. It was crazy, but at this point I couldn't do much about it. So I let it go. Even though I felt like she could at least told me. How she moved was wrong as hell. And she was obviously praying on my demise. Once she moved out and we finally was able to go in the room had an odor to it. It was just wild. Like, some women wear Depends on their periods. She was one of those women. She had Depends on the floor, bloody sheets in the room. It was just crazy. It was wild. I couldn't believe the stuff I seen. And it was just like, damn, I wish I would have came in here and looked around or something. How was you living like this? The bathroom was filthy. I'm going to actually insert some pictures if I still have them pictures. But I feel like I should. I should have them pictures. So, a few days later, my car got repossessed. Because, I was putting different bills before that. I was working, I was doing DoorDash. Like, I was doing a lot I wasn't resting much, basically. So, once the car got taken, it left me time to think over everything. And I was hurt because I felt like we was friends. So I was surprised by the energy that she gave once she left because she never showed it. However, I started to realize some of the sly remarks that she would be making that could have hinted to me these true feelings that completely went over my head when she was living with me. But like, something she used to do that I realized was shade. She just always wanted to try to make me up. I'm at home. If I'm at home, I look good when I want to, not when nobody else want me to. I look good when I feel like it, when I want to look good. So it would be like a regular day. Like, say I'm just coming home from work, got on my work uniform. Like, she'd be like, you look so good. And I would just be like, Like, so that was one of the little sly things she used to do. She used to always say that. I just used to be so confused because what are you talking about? Like, I just came home from work. I'm ready to go lay it down, go take a shower. Like, and you saying, like, what? She was being smart. That's pretty much the story. We're going to get into a little bit of her family's dynamics and what probably made her the way that she is, which is just like a spiteful person, very jealous, very catty. For one, first things first, a few weeks later, I was scrolling on Facebook and I came across a story of a child finding a gun and shooting himself. I went to the mother's page and it was the roommate's sister, which was mind-blowing. This whole story and everything about her and her family gives me the chills. It's some deep root work within that family. And I pray that they get it up out of them. I pray. But literally, I feel as though the mom contributed to some of their mental illness and just some of the problems within themselves. Basically, for one, a few of the siblings had different dads, which a lot of women don't realize how much that affects your children. But that does affect your children when they have different dads, because a lot of times men is just going to take care of their kids. They don't care about your other kids or whatever the case is. Like, it starts to create an environment where it is a competition for your mom, for your mom's attention, for your mom's love. If she didn't care about one father as much as the other, or she can't stand one father as much as the other, that might contribute to her treating one child worse than the other, one child better than the other. And not only that, but her mom most recently, and I'm not saying this in a hateful way or anything because my best friend is white, but her mom most recently was dating a white man. And it's funny because I'm from up north. I'm from Delaware, right by Philly. Like, up there, we James Brown black. Like, I'm black and I'm proud black. Like, we heavy up there. Like, it ain't no getting a black person to calm down their blackness up north. It ain't none of that. Like, we black. You obviously can see I'm black, and we black. You know, like, we unapologetically black up there. But down here, I've met a lot of black people who were whitewashed and that wanted to be white. Like at Paul Mitchell, a lot of them black girls wanted to be white. A lot of them black girls were kissing the white girl's ass. It was just very backwards, different. Some stuff I never seen before. Yeah, so her mom recently was married to a white man. So her youngest sibling was half white. And not only that, but she also told me that she was the biggest out of all of her siblings. And she wasn't even that big. She was just thick. And I guess the rest of her family are sticks. I'm not even saying this in a mean way because I call myself a stick. I call myself a stick, so please don't be offended by the way I'm describing body types and stuff. I feel like that caused body image issues with her. And also the simple fact of them having different dads, and also one of the dads being white. Not only is one of the dads white, but he wealthy. He got, a lot of times white people have it going for themselves. I want to say he was possibly even a police officer. I forget exactly what the man's job was, but he was wealthy. Her family was good, like financially, but it also goes to show that money doesn't mean anything. Money doesn't bring happiness, and money does not make kids feel loved either. A lot of parents getting that idea of money is gonna make them feel loved, and that's like my situation. Growing up, my dad was the loving one, the emotional support one, the one there present, and my mom was the breadwinner, the one who always made sure we was good and straight. But I personally didn't feel as much love from her versus my dad, which made me love my dad more. But it just goes to show your presence is more important than the gifts. Like, gifts don't mean much. And a lot of people who didn't have much as a child, they grow up thinking that they can make their kids happy with things, but that's not the situation. It's your kids will be happy with your presence. They will be happy that you're there. They will be happy that you're making them smile. So that's one of the big messages for this whole story. And another one is black love, self-love. Black is beautiful in all its shades. And don't let nobody make you feel less than. Don't let nobody make you feel like you have to be exotic, you have to be mixed, you have to be all of these things to be, valued. Because at the end of the day, we're the most copied. Everybody copies black. So why would you want to be anything else? They look at us and right there in their blueprint. We got to stop that as a people. We got to learn to love ourselves. We got to get back to loving ourselves. Because I know so many black people who are self-hating, who are quick to put down another black person. That's also something I realize within our community. We're so quick to put each other down, but a lot of other races do not do that. They don't do that. So we look foolish a lot of the times where we're saying, I'm light skinned, you're dark skinned, I'm dark skinned, you're light skinned. We look foolish a lot of the times because at the end of the day, we still niggas in a coop. You still a nigga in a coop. So let that be that. I appreciate y'all for watching. That was a juicy story time. I really wanted to be motivational with this, so I hope that I touch somebody. I hope that I help somebody realize their value, their worth. A lot of people got to realize that the physical vessel is nothing. Your character is what matters. Your spirit is what matters. Your spirit is your body that you go to God with. When you go to God, this gone. This is gone. So as much as people try to judge based off of the flesh, feel worthy based off of the flesh, they forget to realize, and not only that, but destroy their flesh. They forget to realize that the flesh is a gift, borrowed gift, that is such little things compared to the bigger picture. The purpose of being on earth is really to become your best version, which is some stuff that you can't see. It's not tangible. That's the whole purpose. You're given all of these physical possessions to realize that you don't need physical possessions, to realize that physical possessions weigh you down. So with that being said, I feel like I done spit my stuff right then. So yeah, I'm hot, I'm sweating out here. I won't go in the crib. So thank y'all for watching. I have some more story times to talk about. I'm glad I got that out because it just was eye-opening, you know. But yeah, thank y'all for watching. It's your girl Kira the Doll, and yeah, I'll be back with another story time. Make sure y'all comment, like, leave y'all opinions. I want to be more interactive with you guys. I want to create a more strong community. So yeah, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what was the thing that stood out to you the most about the story, the biggest jaw dropper, whatever it is. Drop that down below. But see you guys. Bye.